Hello, this is William McKissock, your expense reduction specialist. And remember, this is not my day job. I interview businesses to try and help them get promoted in social media. I've been doing it since the start of COVID, and it's my way of giving back. And today I have with me Gary Rogers. Gary, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Let me tell the viewers a little bit about you, and then we'll get into some questions and you can tell us a lot more. So Gary Rogers, he's the owner of an online business called Check Your Game. It's where people come to Gary and they share their stories and how they've overcome adversity. And what that does is that provides a stage where they share their story to let people know they're not alone, which is a pretty fantastic model, Gary, I have to say. So tell me a little bit about yourself and how you get into the business.
Well, thanks for having me. A little bit about myself. I came from Cincinnati, grew up there with family, 3 other brothers, played sports. That was my passion. Ended up playing sports in college, and then I played in the Canadian Football League for 6 years afterwards. And it was during my time in the Canadian Football League when I hit this rock bottom moment. And it was a terrible time, but I came out of it, and I came out of it because I made some changes in life, and those changes and the results that took place actually instigated my business, Check Your Game. And that's how Check Your Game, it came out of that time, which was about 24 years ago.
Fantastic. I mean, it's always really compelling when somebody tells you a story, like they went through it themselves and they wanted to share that journey with other people. So give the viewers and listeners a little bit of an overview and some detail, a little bit of what do you actually do? What does Check Your Game do?
Well, first of all, check your game means what it says. You know, a long time ago, I looked up these words in the dictionary. Check is to examine. Your is about oneself. And game is defined as a business, a sport, a passion, and also the game of life. So to check your game is really, it's about looking yourself in the mirror on the outside, on the inside, and just really examining your game of life and just like looking at all the different things, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so what I do at Check Your Game is basically we ask people to share, to examine their game of life. You know, we ask them to go back and look back through all the years and to share about a time when they had this moment. A lot of times it's a moment, sometimes it's a process, when they finally examined their game of life and made changes. And usually those changes, usually this examination and these changes are always preceded by adversity. Usually something has to happen to us. We have to get, you know, for myself, I hit this rock bottom spot. And sometimes it might be multiple rock bottom spots, but then finally somebody says, you know what? Enough of this, I got to change. And so you examine, you look at your life and you say, you know what, I'm changing. And so that's what Check Your Game does. We ask people to share that Check Your Game moment, share the story that took place that's leading up to the adversity and then the change. And then what we do is we put it online, and then we send it out to others. We send it through an email group. We put it on social media because, you know, the stories, just to keep those stories for yourself, it's fine. But man, these people, they want to give back. They want to serve others. They want to tell people, listen, this is the place I was in, and I want to help you to not live and learn the hard way as much. This is what took place in my life, and this is my story. And then the second part of the question they answer is they give advice.
That's amazing. Because I'm guessing a Checking Your Game could just be a simple case of switching a new job, selling your business and doing something different. It could be anything small or large within all of that. Because we've all done it. I mean, this is my third business since I came to the United States 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So I've checked my game a couple of times before I found out what's working best for me. So, Gary, I don't know anybody else that does exactly what you do. I normally at this point in my interviews ask people what's different about what you're doing as opposed to the competition. Is there competition, and what's different about what you're doing?
Well, I guess a couple of things. First of all, is that there's lots of stuff out there. There's lots of people doing podcasts, and there's authors, and there's, you know, blogs, and there's all these people sharing stories. I guess the one thing I do have is I have some words called Check Your Game that mean what they say, that kind of instigate what I'm doing. So I guess that's one thing. I think it's a catchy phrase that also has meaning, but also when you do check your game, when you examine your game of life and you make better choices, what I found in my life 24 years ago and what I'm seeing also in other people's stories is that there's great results. And so that's one thing is with the name. And then the second thing is, I really think this isn't for everybody because a lot of times you have to be pretty transparent and you have to have a little humility because to go back and to want to share, especially some of these things that are pretty deep, that might be a little, kind of sensitive, you might be talking about an addiction. You might talk about, like losing your job, losing your family, a divorce, an illness, a death of a family member, or just some real deep stuff. Or, there's some other things talking about, I don't want to say this, but this is the kind of stuff. There's like a lot of men and women who have dealt with some sexual, so unwanted sexual things that happen in their life as kids that have affected them through life. And these people are sharing about it, but they've also come through it. And so it's amazing. So anyway, it's not easy to just come out and share. So really that check your game, the question is, what is that moment and what is that adversity that took place before? It's something that's different because not all podcasts and not all these things out there are really asking people like, hey, I want you to dig down. I want you to reflect. I want you to go deep. And I want you to, it's great if you could talk about something. What are you most passionate about sharing? And so a lot of places, they don't do that. But with the words, check your game, I think not people are forced to, but it kind of instigates, it opens them up like, check your game, look into it. Look at it. The game is not just one thing. It's not business, family, or whatever. It's all of it. And so examine it and go through it,
Fantastic. So Gary, a question came to my mind while you were speaking there is how do you make your money? How does it work as far as financially rewarding you for doing this?
Yeah, it's interesting, William, and thanks for asking. Everybody asks me. And by the way, kind of like with your business, if you help save people money, you take a piece of that money, right? So if you help them, they give you some money. And if you don't help them, they don't give you money. So check your game is very similar. We offer people can share their story. It's pro bono. It's a free thing. You don't have to pay a thing. Then what we do after they share their story, we take them through this process. There's different steps. We put it on social media, like I said, and there's comments that come back and forth. After this period of time, short period of time, we then ask them if they would consider nominating 2 people that they want to thank, encourage, acknowledge, or memorialize. That's TEAM, TEAM. Thank, encourage, acknowledge, and memorialize. And so if you want to do that, we encourage them to do that. And so there's an online form they can do that. And as soon as they press submit, it's all free too. Nominating 2 people are free. But what we do have is we have a new page. It's a PayPal page that says, listen, if you want to contribute any amount of money, anything that you think is fair based off of what your experience has been, this is your opportunity to do that. And if you don't have money and if you don't feel like you had some kind of value, it's free. And so everything is free unless somebody wants to contribute any amount of money. We're an LLC, but we kind of are operating like a nonprofit.
Yeah, I was going to say it sounds like a non-profit, but I hear what you're saying. So it's almost like you have an honesty box. You're asking people, drop some money in there if you feel that you're led in that way. And well, anybody watching this show, if you have a story you want to share and it helped you get through adversity and you want other people to learn about it, please connect with Gary at his portion of the video. His details are under there. As a final question, Gary, as a final thought, it's almost a no-brainer I kind of know the answer. Just for the viewers' sake, do you operate with people all over the country?
Yeah, we talk to people. We've got an email list. I look at my analytics, and there was a lady at the UK. I saw her checking things out, and she's sharing comments. And I've got people in let's see, South Africa that are a part of this email list. And so there's people all over that are part of this email list. And then as far as people sharing stories, this is for anybody. You don't have to be in the United States or in Florida. You can be anywhere, male, female, from any background, any religion. Really, it's really, you just want to have a story and you want to share it. We give you that stage. And so this doesn't just include here at the U.S.
That is absolutely fantastic, Gary. Thank you for sharing that. And again, anybody watching this, it's a free service to help yourself and help other people. Please contact Gary at his details below. Well, Gary, thank you very much for coming on the show. I absolutely 100% appreciate it.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I love being here.
My pleasure. And I'll now hand it over to Dave for the weather.